This I thought was kind of fascinating. I haven't seen the developmental models applied to this, and that's the emotions. You spoke about like how the emotions actually develop through, modern society and then postmodern society, and then what we're seeing now. Maybe you could speak a little bit on that, because even though that's something from the book, I haven't heard anybody speak about that. And then also how that, it's interesting because then you also relay that back to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
And then it's like when we transcend a certain emotion, we move to the next emotion. And what's interesting about the way you frame it is like emotions, a lot of emotions are socially constructed, and we use them to control society.
Oh yeah. Well, we see a quite clear progression. Like if you go way back, like before, Christianity and Islam, like the big actual religions, society was built on fear. Like fear was like the first pyramid building civilizations. They worked by fear. But like, if you don't do this, we're gonna come and kill you, basically. Yeah. Or we're gonna punish you. Like you see Hammurabi's laws. Yeah, it's basically you do this, you lose an eye. You do that, we're gonna cut off your hand. Yeah, the fear regime. Yeah. The problem with the fear regime is that it is very, very efficient when it works, but it doesn't work all the time. Because the thing is that you are only going to do what the ruler says, when a spear is pointed at you, or you're gonna get caught. Like the moment you think you can get away with it, you're gonna do that. Yeah. So it's like also why capitalism outcompeted the previous regime. We have like what's called like before we had money capital, we had like violence capital. It's like, well, we have all these kings. Kings, they were all about organizing violence. But money capital, is like of a more subtle nature that you don't need to point the fistful of dollars at someone to make them do what you don't. Just like, okay, you're gonna get the fistful of dollars. Go do what I want you to do. They're gonna do it. And in the same way, we have with emotions, such emotions as guilt and shame. Yeah, because when Christianity and Islam and all the other religions came online, they start working on a much subtler emotion, namely guilt. Yeah, you don't need to point a spear at them. You're just gonna, that's not fair to God, and you really owe us this, and you should do this and that. So with the actual or pre-modern civilizations, like in the Middle Ages, rulers or society were working on the guilt emotion. Like we had like the guilt regime, and then as we became more modern, we needed something even more subtler, namely shame. Because if you are to get like a modern society to work, you take like all of these people, you pack them into metropolises, and we should manage that they don't end up fighting each other, all the time. That's where we have people starting using deodorant, and saying like, yes, ma'am, and thank you, and behave politely, and put on a tie, and you shouldn't like burp, and you shouldn't do this, and like think about like in modern society, all these things that are associated with shame. And it's a mechanism so that we can just endure living together. Like, because think about if we were completely shameless, just walking around naked, and burping and yelling, doing whatever we want, So like with modern society, we had like the shame regime, but just like the fear regime and the guilt regime, they also had some unfortunate effects. That is like if we take like the shame regime, that suddenly people are shamed for being homosexuals. It's also why we call it the pride. Yeah, because what's the opposite of shame? That's pride. Yeah, so like, hey, wait a second, I don't want to feel ashamed about that. So just like with like the modern regime that people wanted to break free, of the of the guilt regime, that suddenly, hey, I don't want this like Christian religion to make me feel guilty about X, Y, Z. I want to live in freedom, you know. And suddenly we had a society that needed a new regulation mechanism, namely shame. Now society has become even more complex, even more developed. So we want to break free of that shame regime. Like we want to, you know, we don't want to be like all tied up, you know, and with a tie and, you know, never not be ourselves. We want to be authentic. And we are now trying to break free of the shame regime. But then, you know, because we still have to live with each other, we still have to have some kind of emotional regulation mechanism. So a new emotional regime is coming online, and it's called the Sklavenmoral regime. We say it in German because we have Nietzsche with like slave morality. But basically, slave morality is about, you should not think that you are better than me. You should not think that you are someone special. Yeah. We also have the law of Jante, like in the Scandinavian countries, where, you know, that people shouldn't believe that they're special. You also actually see that in animist societies. They are often very egalitarian, but they are also very vigilant about remaining egalitarian. So the moment, like if someone has, you know, hunted, been a very good hunter, like the other people in the tribe, they're like, that's nothing, that doesn't mean anything. Like they are very good at belittling the skilled hunter. The interesting thing is that among animists, hunter-gatherers, you see all of these like four regimes present. Just in a different, so that's kind of like a cyclist pattern going on here. But what we're seeing now, like as society is becoming more postmodern, and as postmodernism is breaking free of the shame regime, you know, we're going to be pride. We are not going to shave. We are not going to put deodorant on. We're just going to be our authentic, organic self, and there's nothing wrong about, you know, being the way we actually want to be. But you shouldn't think that you're special. And you see that all over the place now, whenever people think they're a little bit special or they have something new, that we are very good at belittling each other. Yeah. And also like, no, you're just like me, part of that. There are no special people out there. And we especially see that with people grabbing towards metamodernism and having brilliant ideas that people do not want to accept, that their lowly neighbor or friend or chump, you know, or just some dude in the network is brilliant in any way. And that's the Sklavenmoral regime that we are trying to keep each other in check.